The rugged mountain range of Colorado housed a small town called Golden Peak. In the mid-19th century, this town was famous for its gold mines. Thousands of people flocked here to pursue their American dream, the hope of striking it rich quickly and starting a new life. Among the crowd was a young man named Jake Robbins. Jake's eyes had the fire of a Californian sun, and his mind the resolve of steel. He came from a small farm in New England, but his aspirations were enormous. His father had given him nothing but an old rusty shovel and a torn map. Yet Jake had faith in his destiny. He believed that hard work and perseverance would lead him to success. Jake arrived in Golden Peak and used all his savings to buy a few excavation tools, a pickaxe, a shovel, and an old oil lamp. He marked his digging spot on a remote hillside outside the town, a place no one had dared to explore before. Everyone called him crazy. They said, "Jake, why are you going so high up? The gold is found down low near the river." But Jake was stubborn. He had read in an old book that great success often lies where everyone else is afraid to go. He replied, "The riverside is too crowded. I will carve my own path." The first few months were pure hell. Colorado winters meant bone-chilling cold, and the summers were unbearably hot. Every day before sunrise, Jake would emerge from his small cabin, shovel in hand, hacking at the mountain rock and soil. With every swing of the pickaxe, he envisioned the sparkle of gold. He worked 10 hours a day. His hands developed blisters, and his back constantly ached. By the end of the first month, he had only found a cartload of common rocks. The second month, the same result. His savings began to dwindle. At night, by the dim light of his oil lamp, he would study his map, asking himself, "Am I doing this wrong?" One day, an experienced miner, Old Man Harry, who had spent 40 years in these mines, passed by. He paused and looked at Jake. "What are you doing, Jake?" Harry asked. Jake replied with frustration, "Searching, Harry, but it seems this mountain doesn't want to give me anything. I've given it everything I have, and still nothing." Harry stroked his torn beard and smiled. "Look, son," he said, "these mountains will only give you something when you truly believe in them. Mining isn't just about digging deep into the earth, it's about digging deep into your soul." Jake didn't fully understand his words, but Harry's eyes were calm and resolute, which inspired him to try for just one more day. Months passed. Jake had been digging for almost 6 months. He had created a huge pit, but there was no sign of gold. His clothes were ragged, his food supplies were low, and his physical strength was nearly spent. He barely slept at night, constantly calculating how much longer he could continue this way. One morning, the extreme cold made it impossible for Jake to hold the shovel. His frustration reached its peak. He looked down. The hole he had dug was about 15 feet deep. Suddenly, a thought struck him. This wasn't for him. He was a farm boy. This difficult American dream wasn't his to claim.
He tossed the shovel down. He made his decision. He would sell his equipment and go home. "I give up," he whispered. He went to town and made a small sign. "Mining equipment for sale. Urgently. Cheap." The next day, a young Italian immigrant named Antonio came to buy Jake's gear. Antonio's eyes held the same fire that Jake's once did. Jake told Antonio about his failure. "Don't waste your time," Jake said. "There's no gold here. I dug for 6 months and only found rock." Antonio looked at Jake, ignoring his despair, and simply purchased the equipment. Antonio possessed something Jake did not. He brought a mining engineer with him. Antonio showed him Jake's excavation site. The engineer climbed down, carefully examined the pit Jake had dug. He took a sample of a small, shiny rock, broke it, and then took measurements with a compass and some instruments. He climbed out and looked at Antonio. "Listen, young man," the engineer said, "you are very lucky. Jake Robbins was a good digger, but he was weak on math. What he was looking for was just 3 feet away." Antonio was stunned. The very next day, Antonio dug just 3 more feet. At that depth, he discovered the biggest vein of gold anyone had ever seen in the history of Golden Peak. Overnight, Antonio realized his American dream. He gained not just gold, but immense wealth. Jake Robbins, who had returned to his farm, was devastated when he heard the news. He spent the rest of his life bearing the pain of making the ultimate mistake. He had given up at the very threshold of success. The moral of the story, the takeaway. The American dream isn't a lottery. It is about perseverance, resolve, and that extra effort that takes you across the finish line. We all become Jake Robbins at some point in life. We work hard towards a job, a business, or a personal goal. When hard times hit, when failure arrives, it feels like our efforts are yielding nothing. That is the moment we want to quit. This story teaches us, never give up. Your toughest test is likely the moment right before success. Jake lost his dream for a mere 3 feet of digging. In your life, when you feel like you can't take another step, remember, you are likely just 3 feet away from striking your own gold. Seek expert advice. Had Jake consulted a mining engineer, he might not have quit so easily. When obstacles arise on your path, seek help from a mentor, a coach, or someone with experience. Expert eyes often see what you miss in your despair. Challenge the no. The world will tell you, there's nothing here. Your mind will tell you, you can't do it. But the true American spirit is to challenge that no and believe that the shovel in your hand will take you to the depths others are afraid to reach. The secret to success is this: when others quit, you must find the courage to dig just 3 more feet. Your dream is waiting for you, but it requires your ultimate resolve.